Our Community News. Volume 25 Number 5, May 3, 2025. This podcast presents the audio versions of the news articles in this issue of OCN in the order the articles appeared in the paper. For details, please refer to the articles, which are posted at www.ocn.me. Tri-Lakes area mourns the death of Jim Romanello. Friends, relatives, and co-workers are mourning the death of Jim Romanello. The Monument Town Council member was killed in a motorcycle accident on April 12. Romanello was 60 years old. Council members released a statement saying they were heartbroken. They called Romanello a valued colleague, a dedicated public servant, and a committed member of our community who brought passion and thoughtfulness to his role on the town council. They ordered flags to be flown at half-staff for 5 days in his honor. Mayor Mitch LaKind joined Romanello on the council in 2020. He said he had deep respect for Romanello's commitment to public service, his thoughtful leadership, and his unwavering dedication to the people of Monument. Romanello was the council's longest-serving member at the time of his death. He was first elected as a trustee in 2018. He was re-elected in 2020 for a 4-year term and began serving his second 4-year term last November when the Board of Trustees became the town council after the town switched to home rule. Tri-Lakes Chamber of Commerce President and CEO Terry Hayes said a sudden death like this is a reminder that, you never know when something unexpected might happen, so hug those close to you every chance you get. Here are some upcoming local events. See pages 22 and 23 for event locations and other details of these and many other local events. OCN Mailing Day, Thursday, June 5. Space Foundation National Space Day, May 3. Puzzle Swap and Speed Jigsaw Puzzle Competition. Monday, May 19. Taste of Tri-Lakes Cares, Wednesday, May 14. Silver Key Senior Summit, Thursday, May 15. Braver Angels and Reclaiming Civility hosting summer workshops to promote respectful dialogue, Thursday, May 15. Art Hop, Friday, May 23. Monument Hill Farmers Market, every Saturday starting May 24. Palmer Lake Farmers Market, every Sunday starting May 25. Town of Monument Memorial Day Ceremony, Monday, May 26, Monument Cemetery. WMMI Picnics and Planes, USAFA Graduation Airshow Event, Thursday, May 29. Monument Hill Foundation, Grant Applications Deadline May 31. Pikes Peak Soap Box Derby, Final Race Car Inspection and Practice Day Saturday, May 31. Race, Sunday, June 1, Higbee Road in Monument. MVA Annual Meeting. Thursday, June 5, PRHS. Front Range Makers Market, Saturday through Sunday, June 7 to 8. Palmer Lake Board of Trustees, April 10 and 24, Second Bucky's Annexation Eligibility Hearing scheduled. By James Howell and Jackie Burr-Hans. At its first meeting on April 10, the Palmer Lake Board of Trustees, PLBOT, set a date for a hearing to determine if a property owned by Maria Larson is eligible for annexation by the town. The board had previously determined the property to be eligible, but the first request for annexation was withdrawn and resubmitted in a slightly different form, making a second eligibility hearing necessary. The board considered an ordinance authorizing the transfer of 2 parcels of land owned by the town and an ordinance authorizing a collection service to be used to collect unpaid fees. The process for determining future uses of the Elephant Rock property was discussed. At its April 24 meeting, the board heard a presentation about the Pikes Peak Regional Transportation Authority, PPRTA, from contract manager Rick Sonnenberg. The board heard administrative reports. A resolution to extend a conditional use permit for die cut was debated by the board. The board approved the addition of fees for use of the town's pickleball courts to its master fee schedule and reviewed proposals from trash collection services. The board returned to its discussion of the Elephant Rock property and planned to complete its land use code. Both meetings included executive sessions. Bucky's annexation eligibility hearing back on agenda. The board addressed Resolution 35/2025, which initiates annexation proceedings and schedules a special board meeting at 6 p.m. on May 29 at the Palmer Lake Town Hall to determine the eligibility for annexation of a property adjacent to I-25, which has been proposed as the future site of a Bucky's Travel Center. Town Attorney Scott Krob told the board that the resolution was only procedural. Once a petition for annexation is received, the town clerk must refer it to the board and the board must schedule an annexation eligibility hearing that will be held between 30 and 60 days of the date of the resolution, which is April 10. May 29 was suggested for the eligibility hearing to give owners of adjacent properties at least 45 days to request inclusion in the annexation. The board packet from April 10 contains 3 annexation maps that show the land to be annexed, which includes a portion of County Line Road, a portion of Beacon Light Road and a 24.7-acre parcel adjacent to I-25. Trustees Shauna Ball, Tim Caves, Kevin Dreyer, Amy Hudson and Dennis Stern voted in favor of the resolution. Mayor Glant Havener also voted in favor. Trustee 8S Jerka voted no and stated he felt the annexation was not right for the town. Krob gave the board an update on the 3 impact studies commissioned as part of the annexation process. He said that the studies, which address traffic, financial matters, and water availability, were provided as professional services and therefore did not require a competitive bidding process. When completed, the studies would be published on the town's website, Krob said. Note, the studies have been published and can be found here, bit.ly/Bucky's reports. During the public comment portion of the April 10 meeting, resident Roger Mosley questioned the independence of contractors writing the impact studies. He said the board was not properly managing the contracts with the authors of the studies. Town property transferred. Ordinance 1/2025 authorizes the transfer of 2 small parcels of land owned by the town to Lynn Jack via a quitclaim deed. The 2 parcels are west of Highway 105 and north of Peakview Boulevard. One of the parcels is 0.7 acre, the other is 0.3 acre. Craig Dossey, representing Jack, said the land in question had no use. Krob told the board it was unclear how the town came to own the land and the title was uncertain. He said the sale via quitclaim deed would free the town of liability. The board voted unanimously in favor of the ordinance. Collection service to be used for unpaid town fees. Town Administrator Dawn Collins told the board that in the past, unpaid municipal court fees were collected by the county government, but that is no longer the case. She asked the board to consider Ordinance 2/2025, which authorizes the town to use a collection service to collect unpaid fees. She recommended Integral Recoveries Incorporated in Denver. The collection service would retain 25% of any money collected. The board approved the ordinance unanimously. New plan for Elephant Rock buildings. Havener said Cave and Hudson are working on a plan for the Elephant Rock property. The board packet says the property is zoned plan development, which requires the development of a sketch plan and other documents. The main lodge and 2 other structures will be addressed by a request for proposal, RFP, to be developed by Cave and Hudson. The town's consultants will contribute to the plan, which will come before the board for approval. PPRTA presentation. Sonnenberg told the board the PPRTA was a collaborative effort with 6 members, the cities of Colorado Springs and Manitou Springs, El Paso County, and the towns of Green Mountain Falls, Rama, and Calhoun. It was formed under a state statute that allows the voters of 2 or more entities to establish a regional transportation authority. PPRTA was established in 2004, and voters approved a 1% sales tax to support PPRTA projects. The funds raised are divided among capital projects, maintenance, and transit. The capital projects portion of the PPRTA has been extended by the voters twice, in 2012 and again in 2022, and a total of $2 billion in revenue has been collected. The maintenance and transit portions of the PPRTA do not sunset. The revenues from PPRTA have funded more than 70 projects in the region, including improvements to County Line Road east of I-25, improvements to Baptist Road east and west of I-25, and the widening of I-25 between Monument and Castle Rock. Sonnenberg estimated that if Palmer Lake joined the PPRTA, it could raise as much as $400,000. The 1% sales tax is distributed among PPRTA members by population. Palmer Lake projects would need to go on a ballot measure that all participating entities would vote on. Hudson pointed out that Palmer Lake voters would have to approve joining the PPRTA. Later in the meeting, the board agreed to hold a workshop in July on joining the PPRTA. Administrative reports. In his administrative report, Krob told the board that the traffic study commissioned for the proposed Bucky's Travel Center had been completed and was posted on the town's web page. The fiscal study and the water study would be completed and posted within 2 days, Krob said. The studies are available here, bit.ly/Bucky's reports. Collins reported that repairs to the town's water tank were estimated to cost $250,000. She anticipated the 2025 budget would need to be amended. The Public Works Department had purchased a dump trailer for $9,563. An operator and responsible charge for the water department had been hired, Collins said, which brought the town up to full staff. Air Force Academy cadets finished a bridge at the Elephant Rock property, and a dedication ceremony was planned for May 7 at 10:30 a.m. Temporary conditional use permit for die-cut extended again. Bruno Furrer, owner of the property at 773 Highway 105, asked the board to extend a temporary conditional use permit that was put in place to allow die-cut to use the location to store hay for its wholesale business. The conditional use permit was required because the property is Zone C2 for commercial uses, but outdoor storage requires industrial zoning. Furrer said the Planning Commission was willing to extend the permit on a year-by-year basis indefinitely if Loren Burlig, the owner of die-cut, would extend the screened fencing surrounding his business and meet some other requirements. The permit has been extended twice in the past. Hudson pointed out that die-cut's wholesale business did not generate any sales tax revenue to the town. Havener and Dreyer expressed frustration that the permit had already been extended and a permanent solution had not been found. A vote to extend the permit resulted in a tie vote, so the resolution failed. Krob said without an extension, die-cut would need to cease use of the property for outdoor storage by the end of May. Following further discussion, the board voted on an amended resolution that extends the permit for 1 year, with the stipulation that die-cut's use of the property for outdoor storage would end when the extension expires. Pickleball fees added to schedule. Collins presented a set of proposed fees to reserve the town's pickleball courts. She emphasized the fees could change as the staff gains experience with court reservations. The fees were proposed by the Parks and Trails Commission, she said. According to materials in the board packet, 2 of the 6 courts will not be available for reservations and will instead use the paddle-up system. The remaining courts will have defined times when they can be reserved for use. Courts 1 through 4 will be blocked for play by members of the Palmer Lake Pickleball Club. All courts will be open on Saturdays. Individual residents will pay an hourly fee of $10 per court, non-residents will pay $20 per hour. Instructors, camps, special groups, tournaments, and corporate events will pay higher rates. By noon each day, reservations will close for the next 48 hours and staff will post a list of the courts reserved. John Toole, representing the Parks and Trails Commission, pointed out that most towns have staff to monitor their courts but Palmer Lake does not. The Commission's goal was to generate revenue for maintenance and ensure equitable access, Toole said. The board voted unanimously in favor of Resolution 38/2025, which establishes the fees and schedule for reservations. Trash collection discussion. In response to questions board members asked at the April 10 meetings, Collins asked Apex Infinite Disposal, Republic Services, and Waste Connections about the percentage of business each has in Palmer Lake and if their prices would change if less than 100% of the residents decide to use their service. She collected their responses in a table published in the April 24 board packet. The board considered the information collected but did not select a trash collection service. Elephant Rock RFP takes shape, includes sale of land. Hudson said she and Cave were considering an RFP addressing potential uses for the main lodge and 2 other buildings at the Elephant Rock property that would provide a 3- or 4-month period for businesses to present the ways in which they could use those structures. For the first time, the possibility of selling the 3 acres on which the buildings sit will be considered, Hudson said. Inability to purchase the land has made it difficult to find financing for previous proposals. Residential uses or additional buildings would not be considered, she said. Krob recommended getting an appraisal. Collins said an RFP would be drafted for consideration at a future board meeting. Completion of land use code seen as critical. Collins told the board that the town's land use code was still in disrepair despite previous work to redraft it. In 2023, the town got a $25,000 matching grant from the State Department of Local Affairs to rewrite its land use code. Just under half the code has been rewritten, but those funds have all been spent, Collins said. She asked the board to approve an additional $30,000 to complete the rewrite. The consultant would agree to complete the rewrite for that amount, she said. She added the town will not be reimbursed for money already spent until the project is complete, and the 2025 budget would need to be amended to make the necessary funds available. Collins said the deadline for completion would be extended for a year, but the town is in a difficult position without a complete land use code. Krob said extensive discussions with the Planning Commission had added to the cost of the rewrite. Resident Roger Mosley criticized the board for allowing the project to drag on for 22 months and said the public did not have enough input into the work. The board did not vote but approved Collins' plan to complete the project. Executive sessions. Both board meetings included executive sessions during which the board received legal advice concerning amendments to the property lease agreement for the Eco Spa at the Elephant Rock property and the possible annexation agreement for the proposed Bucky's Travel Center. The next regular board meetings are scheduled for May 8 and 22. See the town's website at www.townofpalmerlake.com to confirm times and dates of board meetings and workshops. Meetings are typically held on the 2nd and 4th Thursdays of the month at the Town Hall. Information: 71948122953. James Howald can be reached at jameshowald@ocn.me. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Lewis Palmer D38 Board of Education, April 22. Board announces finalists for Superintendent, approves construction and location of Home School Enrichment Academy. By Harriet Halbig. The Lewis Palmer D38 Board of Education announced 2 finalists for the position of Superintendent, discussed options for relocation of the Home School Enrichment Academy, HSEA, and heard updates to its 2025-26 district budget at its April 22 meeting. Superintendent finalists. Following an executive session before the regular meeting, the board approved the announcement of interim Superintendent Amber Whetstine and Palmer Ridge High School Principal Adam Frank as finalists for the position of Superintendent. Board President Tiffany Upchurch encouraged members of the Board and Selection Advisory Committee to submit questions to be used at interviews of the candidates on May 6. She said the questions should be submitted directly to Human Resources Director Alicia Welch. The same questions will be asked of both candidates. The final decision will be made at the Board's regular meeting on May 19, at which time a contract will be signed. Relocation of Home School Enrichment Academy. Following the board's decision to demolish Grace Best Elementary School, the district's HSEA and Transitions program will need to be relocated. It was decided that the Transitions program can be housed in available space in the new Career and Innovation Center. Representatives of the HSEA have requested the use of 7 classrooms, an art room, a science room, access to a cafeteria, space for gym classes, and office space. Chief Business Officer Brett Ridgway and Director of Planning, Facilities, and Grounds Melissa Andrews explained the process of analyzing space in existing buildings and determining the most cost-effective new construction options. Ridgway explained that all existing school facilities were analyzed to determine whether the academy could be located in one of them. The 2 most likely locations would be Ray Kilmer Elementary and Lewis Palmer Elementary School. In both cases, classrooms would be reallocated from their current use to offer access to contiguous rooms. At Kilmer, analysis revealed that 5 classrooms could be made available. In addition to this being fewer rooms than requested, population fluctuations in that part of the district made it unlikely to be a permanent solution. The fact that the academy does not meet every day also could pose scheduling problems. At Lewis Palmer Elementary, 4 rooms looked possible. Palmer Lake Elementary was not considered as it will soon house a preschool. Ridgway showed a slide detailing the comparative costs of various solutions, including purchase of an existing building, building a stick-built structure or a steel structure, or building a prefabricated pod structure. Of these alternatives, the pod is by far the most affordable. The pod would consist of 7 classrooms, a dedicated art room, a dedicated science room, and a multi-purpose room which could be used as a gym. Office space would also be included. In addition to the lower expense, Andrews and Ridgway pointed out that some of the spaces could be made available to the community for rent when not in use by the academy. 2 possible locations on district property were considered for the structure. The first would be immediately south of the district administration building. Access to utilities exists as there had been a previous modular in the space. The existing playground would be replaced as it has reached end of life. Ample parking is available. The alternate location would be on the grounds of Bear Creek Elementary School, where provision was originally made for construction of a second school. Again, access to utilities is provided and the structure could be expanded if needed. This site would require construction of parking and road access. In answering questions, Andrews said the project lifespan of a pod building is 40 to 50 years if it is well maintained and not moved. When asked what the resale value might be in 10 years, she said it would be about $1 million of the original $2.5 million. She said that the district often receives calls asking if we have modulars available for purchase. Andrews also pointed out that at additional cost there are various surface options and that the pod could be at ground level rather than requiring stairs or ramps. The board voted to construct a pod structure at the location near the administration building. To view the presentation on this subject, go to Board Docs under the Board of Education tab on www.lewispalmer.org. Budget discussion. Ridgway reported on the current state of the district's budget, saying that it is spending 98.5% of the budgeted revenue. Reminding the board that 72% of the district's revenue comes from the School Finance Act, he said there will be a projected 2.5% increase in revenue for the 2025-26 year. In addition, by reducing district budgeting for capital improvements from $3 million to $2.5 million, this should allow for a potential salary increase of 2.8%. Those in the lower paid categories would receive a higher percentage increase than those in administration. The cost of the health benefit plan is projected to rise by 13.5%. Historically, the district paid 70% of the cost and employees 30%. Ridgway said that this year there would be a choice of 3 health insurance plans rather than the previous 4. The district is considering shifting to a self-funded plan through a statewide Colorado Employees Benefits Fund. He said that by moving to the fund, the district would see less volatility in rate changes from year to year. Ridgway reminded the board that the cost of the Career and Innovation Center was offset by funds freed by SB 2024-17. The board must vote on a budget for the coming year at its June meeting. To view the presentation on this subject, go to Board Docs under the Board of Education tab on www.lewispalmer.org. Priority 2 Update, Academic Excellence. Director of Assessment Dr. Michael Brahm and District Literacy Specialist Peggy Grebno reported on district efforts in support of Priority 2 of the district's strategic plan. To view the presentation, please see Board Docs and the article on the Parent and Community Advisory Committee on page 7 of this issue. A concern of Brahms is the fact that district students do not receive matriculation credit for earning college credit during high school. An additional concern is the relatively low participation in state assessments, which could threaten the district's accreditation with distinction if current legislation succeeds. We currently have an 83rd percentile participation of the 85th percentile required. Board recognitions. The board recognized athletes from the D38 Unified Basketball Team who earned second place at the Special Olympics State Championship in March. Team coach Brandy Doan introduced team members and fellow coaches. The board recognized staff members Robin Hudson, post-secondary counselor at Lewis Palmer High School, and Angela Dawson, career and college counselor at Palmer Ridge High School, for planning and executing career fairs at their schools. The events were supported by grants from the School Counseling Corps, the Her Society, and the D38 Foundation. Hudson and Dawson were also recognized by the Colorado Department of Education for receiving the School Counselor Corps grant. The board recognized recipients of advance grants from the D38 Education Foundation and thanked the Tri-Lakes Lions Club for their contributions. Student representatives at the meeting were Maren Stickrath and Jonathan Lilly of Lewis Palmer High School. Student representatives may ask questions and participate in discussions but may not vote. The Lewis Palmer Board of Education usually meets at 6 p.m. on the third Monday of the month in the district's Learning Center at 146 North Jefferson Street. The next meeting will be on May 19th. For information, please contact VWOOD@lewispalmer.org. Harriet Halbig may be reached at harriesthalbig@ocn.me. D38 Parent and Community Advisory Committee, April 8, discussion of Priority 2 Academic Excellence, Superintendent Search. By Harriet Halbig. The D38 Parent and Community Advisory Committee, PCAC, formerly District Accountability Advisory Committee, discussed Priority 2 of the district's strategic plan involving academic excellence, the continuing search for a new superintendent, and plans to relocate programs from Grace Best Elementary School at its April meeting. The meeting was held at Lewis Palmer Middle School and began with a presentation by Principal Courtney Harrell and student presenters. The school, with a student population of 755, stresses academic growth, a positive culture, and effective communication between students, staff, and families to ensure that all are informed of activities. A recent student survey confirmed that students value a variety of elective offerings such as forensic science, photography, journalism, medical detectives, and speech and debate. Drama, band, and choir are also valued, as well as a wide variety of athletic offerings. The school rates very high in achievement in science and meets requirements for student participation in testing, although a significant number of families opt out of the testing. Board of Education update. Board Liaison Dr. Patty Schenk reported on the March meeting of the board. Among the subjects discussed were the future location of the Home School Enrichment Academy, HSEA, and the Transitions Program. The HSEA occupies a large space in Grace Best and would require either the lease of an alternate structure or the construction of a new structure. When the cost of purchasing an existing building, building a conventional stick-built structure, and building a metal structure were compared to the possibility of creating a prefabricated structure, the prefabricated option was by far the most affordable. This structure would include 10 classrooms and a multi-purpose room and have an estimated lifespan of 40 to 50 years. One committee member commented that the stick-built structure would last longer. Schenk also reported that the fire marshal offered the opportunity for the HSEA to occupy a portion of Grace Best for several months until the new structure was available. He would cordon off areas which are dangerous due to water leakage and other damage. The Transitions program will be housed in the new Career and Innovation Center building along with the robotics program. Regarding the search for a new superintendent, the board announced that 2 finalists will move forward in the selection process: Palmer Ridge High School Principal Adam Frank and Interim Superintendent Amber Whetstine. Both the PCAC and the Staff Collaboration Committees gave input to the board, indicating that listing the position internally was a preferable alternative to having the previous search organization do an additional search. Part of the motivation behind this recommendation was that there were relatively few finalists in the previous search and several of them were district employees. Also, it was felt that a new superintendent should lead the district in the way it had been led rather than imposing a new system. The board voted 4-1 to post the position internally. When asked, Human Resources Director Alicia Welch said she did not intend to apply and therefore creating the job description and other activities would not be a conflict of interest. Schenck also reported on the timing of the search and that there would be greater community involvement this time and possibly some interviews would be in public. One committee member expressed concern that current interim superintendent Amber Whetstine is also the director of curriculum. Whetstine commented that the position of director of curriculum would be posted soon. Priority 2, Academic Excellence. Director of Assessment Dr. Michael Brahm reported on the district's performance on state standardized assessments in the last school year. Regarding English language arts, Brahm said that the goal by 2027 would be to have students at all grade levels reach the 85th percentile, with a special emphasis on third graders. The test indicating performance in this area is the Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills, DIBELS, test. Showing performance results for the past 3 years, the elementary and high school scores achieved this goal with the middle school reaching the 83rd percentile. The goal for growth is to reach the 50th percentile each year, which would indicate maintaining grade-level proficiency. Looking at a chart indicating performance among elementary schools, 4 schools exceeded the benchmark, 2 were at 50th percentile and the middle school was at the 38th percentile. Brahm also reported on achievement in math with the goal of reaching 85th percentile and at least median growth at all grade levels. Action steps to achieve this would include improving math instruction through examination of programming, resources, assessments, and scheduling, sharing best practices among instructors, offering alternative courses, and ensuring equitable math placement as students transition from elementary to middle school and middle school to high school. State assessment results, including PSAT and SAT scores in addition to Colorado Measures of Academic Success, CMAS, showed elementary students at 84%, middle school at 81%, and high school at 85%. Only the high school results indicated an increase from the previous year. In terms of growth, only Palmer Lake Elementary and Ray Kilmer Elementary exceeded the 50% rate. To improve the matriculation rate in the district, action steps included establishing a facility and program infrastructure to include new courses and industry partnerships, aligning programs with student interests, developing academic pathways, training teachers, identifying partners, and engaging stakeholders in the community. Currently, 25% of District 38 graduates are already enrolled in concurrent enrollment or other programs for college credit before graduation, 70.9% are enrolled in a 2-year, 4-year, or career technology course and 3.8% are entering the military. To view the PowerPoint of this presentation, go to lewisbaumer.org, Family Resources, District Committees, Meeting Content by Date. Subcommittees of PCAC gave brief reports of their activities. Because of time constraints and the fact that funding for the 2025-26 school year has not been determined, the committee will hold a special meeting at the District Learning Center on May 13 at 6 p.m. to discuss the budget. The next meeting of the Parent and Community Advisory Committee will be held at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, May 13 in the district's Learning Center, 146 North Jefferson Street. For further information, contact TMCKEE at lewispalmer.org. Harriet Halbig may be reached at harriethalbig@ocn.me. Monument Academy School Board, April 10 and 24, Proposed High School Dress Code Draws Concerns. By Jackie Burr-Hans. The Monument Academy, MA, School Board received student and parent feedback on proposed high school dress code changes at its regular meeting on April 10 and returned to the discussion at a special meeting on April 24. The board also heard a report from its Library Review Committee and approved numerous other policies. High school dress code changes debated. During citizens' comment, students voiced concerns about proposed dress code changes. While praising MA's community and academics, they opposed the changes, citing financial burdens, loss of self-expression, and blurred distinctions between middle and high school. They feared the uniform-like code could hurt enrollment or lead to student departures. Others suggested better enforcement of the current code and urged the board to reconsider. Board President Ryan Graham commended the students for speaking. Executive Director Colin Vinchattel announced the first reading of the proposed policy, noting that the board could consider changes in future meetings. He shared results from 100 responses to the dress code survey sent to students and families and acknowledged students' strong interest, demonstrated by their attendance and comments. VanDenHoek proposed collaborating with Principal Angela Duca to engage students further. The proposed policy refines the structure and wording, acknowledging the Colorado Crown Act and outlining a process for applicable cases. It removes gender-specific annotations, stating that students must wear attire aligned with their gender. A new section on tattoos and markings prohibits drawing on skin, requires tattoos to meet respect guidelines, and prefers that they remain covered. Pajama bottoms are explicitly banned. The survey asked students and parents about removing sweats and hoodies from the high school dress code. Comments echoed concerns raised at the meeting, noting that smart casual, mentioned in other communication, felt more restrictive and punitive. Vice President Lindsay Clinton questioned whether parents understood the differences among prior communications, the survey, and the proposed wording. VanDenHoek explained that smart casual was introduced at a new high school event. Clinton also expressed concerns about removing gender annotations, especially around makeup. VanDenHoek acknowledged that dress codes often feel more punitive toward females and noted some respondents preferred business casual. Board President Ryan Graham highlighted the policy's ambiguity and requested changing gender to sex in the first paragraph, removing markup and itemizing changes in a clean draft. Board member Jalinda Digert suggested discussing the changes with students, which VanDenHoek agreed could be done during study hall, and the board could review the policy again in 2 weeks. Library Review Committee Report. Secondary Assistant Principal Jesse Davis reported that the Library Review Committee held initial meetings to review the form submission process and book scoring rubric. With 7 books queued before its formation, the committee has reviewed 3 so far. The following books were examined. A Parent, citing Facebook groups focused on children's innocence, deemed Smile by Raina Teigmeyer inappropriate for elementary students due to topics like attracting boys, bras, puberty, and kissing. They argued it conflicted with MA's classical philosophy and noted that hygiene discussions for 5th graders require parental permission. The committee removed the book from West Campus, placing it at East Campus for better alignment with middle school audiences. A parent found Cat Kid on Purpose by Dave Pilkey inappropriate for a 3rd grader after her 6th grader raised concerns. She cited sections showing characters screaming and appearing on stage in underwear. She argued it conflicted with MA's character-building values. The committee retained the book at West Campus, citing its positive teamwork, conflict resolution, and perseverance themes. A parent reviewed Cat Kid Collaboration by Dave Pilkey after reading Cat Kid on Purpose, citing similar concerns about detrimental character-building themes, including characters and parents screaming. The reviewer labeled the author's message on global sameness and references to the deaths of Batman's and Superman's parents and Spider-Man's uncle as adult topics. The committee retained the book at West Campus, highlighting its alignment with MA's moral vision and positive themes. Vice President Lindsay Clinton noted all the books were graphic novels and asked about future purchasing priorities. Librarian Kelly Huffman emphasized supporting teacher curriculum while addressing gaps in graphic novel series and ensuring balance. Graham clarified that the board votes only to override the committee's recommendations, with a 2-year wait before a book can be challenged again. Additional policies discussed. The board reviewed and unanimously approved the following policies. 1500A Board of Directors Governance Policy renamed BMA, 1500B Executive Director renamed to CDMA. JGMA Enrollment and Placement, added a lottery process and aligned with D38's proof of residency requirements. IKEMA Promotion, Retention and Acceleration of Student, merged IKE and 1527 policies, added definitions, and aligned with MA's mission and vision. KMAE, 1, Promotion, Retention and Acceleration of Student, retention form used in the IKEMA policy. 1527 Student Retention, rescinded, as it merged with IKEMA. IJMA Selection of Instructional Materials and Textbook Policy and Procedures, removed the statement requiring alignment with federal and state standards but emphasized monitoring standards through state/national assessments. IJMAE selection of instructional materials and textbook policy and procedures. Governance Committee flagged rubric EduSpeak for clarification and requested an additional, parent-friendly rubric. MA's board policies can be found at http://bit.ly/maboardocs. Highlights. Board meeting highlights include: Board member Craig Carl spotlighted the Monument Academy Gala team for their contributions. Finance Director Laura Poland reported that the February financials show that MA is well positioned to meet bond ratios. She credited People Operations Director Krista Pelly for staffing projections and noted collaboration with the Registrar on FTE enrollment tracking for budgeting. Graham requested the removal of the Highway 105 Committee report, as the work around West Campus is complete. Clinton reported that the Curriculum East Committee reviewed last month's approved policy and proposed edits for a vote. It will present the history and leadership rubrics to the board in May. Board member Jalinda Digert said the Student Accountability and Advisory Committee, SAAC, for East Campus reviewed survey results and will share recommendations at the May board meeting. She urged parents to attend the final meeting on May 5, 3:30 to 5 p.m., or email sacsecondary@monumentacademy.net for details. The board heard a presentation on the upcoming graduation activities, reviewed the gala and other fundraising activities, got an update on the enrollment numbers, and reviewed progress on academic goals. The board approved a reimbursement resolution to reimburse itself for $15 million in capital expenses ahead of bond refinancing. Interim CFO Glenn Gustafson highlighted a $26 million balloon payment due June 2026 and plans to refinance $60 million in bonds to consolidate campus debt and fund East Campus projects. The board unanimously signed a letter to the Colorado High School Activities Association, CHSAA, demanding rules barring boys from competing in girls' sports, warning of escalation to state and federal authorities if demands are unmet. After an executive session on property acquisition, the board approved a letter of intent to purchase Grace Best Education Center for $100,000, directing VanDenHoek to present it to D38 Interim Superintendent Amber Whetstine. The board approved an updated staff handbook, incorporating audit-recommended wording on the 7 tenets, revising Title IX and leave policies, and updating renamed policy references. Clinton announced that board applications closed in March with only one applicant, Craig Carl, eliminating the need for an election. The board unanimously re-elected Carl by acclamation. Graham shared a community letter on House Bill 25-1213, which mandates that MA accommodate students' chosen names, pronouns, and cross-dressing, while defining misgendering and deadnaming as discriminatory. He urged families to engage by signing petitions, contacting officials, and preparing to testify. Graham stated that if Governor Jared Polis signs the bill, the board will discuss next steps, but he encouraged a veto if Polis plans a presidential run. VanDenHoek provided the board with a first draft of Policy AEPMA Educational Philosophy for its review. It describes MA's philosophy and instructional approach and emphasizes parental involvement. The policy references several supporting documents. The MA School Board meets at 6:30 p.m. on the second Thursday of each month. The next regular board meeting will be on Thursday, May 8, at 6:30 p.m. at the East Campus. The agenda and packet are available at bit.ly/maboardocs. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Monument Town Council, April 7 and 21. Monument Town Council mourns loss of Jim Romanello. By Chris Jubb. The Monument Town Council began its April 21 session by solemnly acknowledging the recent passing of Councilmember Jim Romanello, who had served the community with dedication since his 2018 election. In a moment of reflection, all council members shared memories of Romanello's commitment to transparent governance and constituent outreach, and held a brief moment of silence in his honor. Everyone from the dais remembered Romanello warmly. Mayor Mitch LaKind lamented, "I'm missing a leg to kick under the dais tonight. recalling that after they ran against each other for mayor in 2022, Romanello confided he was glad he hadn't won, and added, "I'm going to miss him." Councilmember Laura Cronick, choking back tears, said, "We hugged, bantered, argued, and laughed. Farewell, my friend." Marco Fiorito reflected on Romanello's dedication and spirit of cooperation. Mayor Pro Tem Steve King observed, "We started out on opposite sides of things, but we ended up coming together. Whatever we disagreed on, he would always come back and pat me on the back." Interim Town Manager Madeline VanDenHoek noted, "He always wanted the best for the town," and Councilmember Sanaa Abbott added, "I will miss that raspy laugh of his." The council announced plans to place a commemorative bench along the Santa Fe Trail in his honor. Comprehensive PUD amendment, plat and site plan for Triview water tank. In a single unified action, the council approved all 3 steps necessary to expand the Triview Promontory Point water tank facility. First, Ordinance 07-2025 amended the Sanctuary Point Phase 3 Planned Unit Development, PUD, to reassign 1.1 acres of open space for district use. By rezoning that newly created lot from PUD to public, the town formally consolidated it with the existing 1.37-acre tank site, creating a contiguous 2.47-acre parcel capable of housing a second 1.5 million-gallon tank. Next, Resolution 22-2025 ratified the final plat for Triview Utilities Subdivision, subdividing Sanctuary Point Filing 8 into a 1.1-acre Lot 1 and a 24.4-acre remainder, then merging Lot 1 with the existing district property to legally define the expanded site. Finally, Resolution 23-2025 approved the associated site plan, which includes new landscape buffers, fencing upgrades and construction details for the additional tank. The council emphasized the importance of the added screening along adjacent residential areas and unanimously endorsed the technical design elements. Title II Code Repeal and Readoption. By a 6-to-1 vote, the council enacted Ordinance 08-2025, a wholesale repeal and readoption of Title II, Administration and Personnel, to conform local code with the November 2022 Home Rule Charter and to streamline department structures under the town manager. Among the changes, police department rules were realigned under manager authority, finance director duties were updated, and antiquated provisions, like obsolete municipal judge bond requirements, were removed. Councilmember Sanaa Abbott cast the lone dissenting vote, questioning whether some charter references might complicate future amendments. Old Denver Road Annexation Proceedings. Resolution 25-2025 initiated annexation of the Old Denver Road area, annexation petition 24-2025, finding the petition in substantial compliance with CRS Section 31-12-107. The council authorized staff to prepare the formal annexation ordinance and to schedule the required public hearing later this spring. Proponents noted the area's adjacency to existing town services and its potential to support future residential development. Loop Water Authority IGA Amendment. Continuing regional cooperation, Resolution 27-2025 amended the intergovernmental agreement establishing the Loop Water Authority. Director of Public Works Thomas Tharnish explained that the revised terms address voting thresholds and cost-sharing formulas among member districts. Though council members rejected the original proposal in the April 7 meeting, their concerns were addressed in the April 21 meeting and unanimously approved the updated Loop Water Authority IGA amendment. Review of draft financial policies. In the final discussion of the evening, Finance Director Jennifer Phillips presented proposed updates to the town's financial policies manual. Key changes include raising the target for general fund reserves from 16% to 20% of annual operating expenditures, specifying that long-term capital projects be financed with a mix of pay-as-you-go, debt, and grant funding, and tightening investment criteria to prioritize safety and liquidity. The council directed staff to model the reserve increase's impact on upcoming budgets and to return with a public hearing draft on May 5. Designation of finalists for town manager. After a closed executive session, the council unanimously approved moving 2 candidates forward in the town manager search. Mayor Pro Tem King reported both interviews went very well, naming Madeline VanDenHoek and Sylvia Simpson as the finalists. These names will remain public for 2 weeks before final approval. The Monument Town Council usually meets at 6:30 p.m. on the first and third Mondays of each month at Monument Town Hall, 645 Beacon Light Road. The next meetings are scheduled for Monday, May 5 and 19. For more information, call 719-884-8014 or visit www.townofmonument.org. To view upcoming agendas, complete board packets, or download audio recordings of past meetings, visit https://monumentonco.documents-on-demand.com and click on Town Council. Chris Jub can be reached at chrisjub@ocn.me. Monument Planning Commission, April 9, 2 recommendations for approval, high school students offered seat at the table. By Janet Sellers. At the Monument Planning Commission meeting on April 9, the focus was on public participation and fair review processes for land use matters in Monument. The Commission emphasized the importance of transparency and community involvement. The meeting covered public hearings for the Terrazzo Baja Commercial Development Final Plat and the Triview Administration Building. The commissioners discussed project details, traffic studies, and safety measures. A comprehensive traffic study is necessary for the Terrazzo development to ensure it meets local requirements and does not negatively impact traffic flow. This study will include stormwater management considerations. The proposed final planned unit development for the Triview Administration Building aims to consolidate utility services and administration into one location effectively. The design is intended to align with existing land use patterns and enhance the surrounding area. Safety and infrastructure plans are being discussed for the proposed Triview building area, including vehicle maintenance and safety protocols for pedestrian crossings. Community input is important for enhancing these plans effectively because safety is a crucial concern during community interactions, particularly regarding pedestrian traffic and vehicle operations. Commissioner Danny Hours said drivers must be vigilant and slow down when approaching areas with pedestrians to prevent accidents. Both projects received unanimous approval. Further information for the next stage of the comprehensive plan that includes the surveys for community input and focus groups is expected by the end of May, with discussions and meetings regarding the next steps soon after. Commissioners Chad Smith, Martin Trujillo, and Donna Hatch attended the National Planning Commission meeting in Denver in late March. The conference highlighted the importance of community engagement in planning discussions, particularly regarding housing and water issues. Participants expressed appreciation for the opportunity to share insights and collaborate on these critical topics. The commissioners indicated they felt they learned some effective tools and resources such as religious institution lands as a solution for housing in difficult areas around the Front Range, talks about water, and information on the housing crisis in Colorado. Smith indicated he will continue research in those kinds of areas. Upcoming, Monument Director of Planning Dan Ungerleider offered to share the information and videos from the conference with the Commission members for edification and solutions for many current concerns and issues that impact the community. The Planning Commission still has 2 alternate commissioner vacancies open and requested participation of the community to fill the vacancies and help shape the future of Monument. The meeting concluded with announcements and a call for high school student involvement in local governance. Local high school students interested in learning more about local government are encouraged to attend the Planning Commission meetings, especially to learn about the comprehensive plan process. Ungerleider indicated he is looking to bring back the Student Liaison Program and is creating a formal program for this purpose. The student participants will begin in the audience area, and eventually may have a seat with the commissioners, albeit non-voting seats. The comprehensive plan is for the future of the community, and Ungerleider said that, if it's going to impact anybody, it's going to impact our students. Interested parties may contact Ungerleider at the Town of Monument or email him at dungerleider@tomgov.org. The community is invited to share thoughts with the town via the online website, and representatives will be present at events such as the weekly farmers market and the 4th of July parade. Residents also can visit the website, www.monument2040.com. The meeting adjourned at 6:41 p.m. The Monument Planning Commission advises the Town Council on land use and development issues. The Commission's recommendations are based on local and state laws, zoning, and municipal codes. The Planning Commission usually meets on the second Wednesday of each month. The next meeting is scheduled for May 14th. For further information on Planning Commission meetings, please visit www.townofmonument.org/263/planning-commission-board-of-adjustment or contact 719-884-8028. A recording with a transcript of the meeting is also available. Janet Sellers can be reached at janetsellers@ocn.me. Monument Fire District, April 23, Station 3 financing approved, Board President recognized. By Natalie Barsh. At the Tri-Lakes Monument Fire Protection District DBA Monument Fire District, MFD, meeting on April 23, the board approved financing for the rebuild of Station 3 and recognized Board President Mike Smaldino for his services to the department. The board also received multiple updates to include the status of the new district administrative offices. Treasurer Tom Kelly and Director Dwayne Garrett were excused. Station 3 financing decision explored. Fire Chief Andy Kovac said that at the March meeting Tim David, president of Centennial National Finance Group, presented the board with 3 financing options for an $18 million lease/purchase agreement for the construction of the Station 3 rebuild and, as instructed by the board, David has found options for the district to make a little bit of money to help offset some of the costs for the project. Background: the rebuild of Station 3 is expected to cost about $20.249 million with $3 million already allocated in the 2025 budget. The district has spent about $188,000 this year for costs associated with architects, project management, and site and plan approvals. The land purchase phase is approaching, and after the board approves financing, the district can begin drawing the expenses from the loan. David provided 3 loan options with updated rates for the board to consider as follows. A 20-year lease/purchase loan with Webster Bank with a 4.81% interest rate. A 20-year lease/purchase loan with Capital One with a 5.19% interest rate. A 10-year balloon payment loan with Flagstar with a 4.4% interest rate with the balance due at 10 years. He noted that the lower rate on the 10-year option would give some flexibility for other projects that could occur. Flagstar would like to be the escrow provider and has offered 4.1%. Alternatively, the district could use Colorado Trust, a pool the district is already affiliated with, to earn interest with a financial organization that has proven investment policies and provides good interest rates, he said. Director Randall Estes asked if dividing the cost with a series of incremental loans for $3 million, then $5 million, and a final $8 million or $10 million loan, would be beneficial and allow the district to keep control of its money. David said the loans would be subject to interest rate changes, it would be 3 times the work and would not save much. With each loan or refinance, the district would incur additional fees for the title work involved with the real estate transaction, and it would be time-consuming for the district. Estes said the following. The district could avoid a lot of expense with the interest on $115,000 per month for the first year, but after that the funds would all be dispersed. Kelly had indicated that in 2026 the district will have $6 million in funds for a down payment. The district could make a down payment of $6 million and take out a $12 million loan over 11 years and pay back about $15.259 million in interest, and the monthly payment would be the same, within $50 per month, but save $6.5 million in interest, which is more than the down payment. An $18 million loan over 20 years payback with interest is about $27.775 million, a difference of $12.516 million over the 9 additional years. I am totally for this project, cannot wait to see it, and have it done, but I would love to slow down and look at every financial angle, but we are a year too soon to do the best financial job for the district, said Estes. John Sattler, Vice President of NV5 Inc., project management and representing the district during the rebuild of Station 3, said it is hard to predict escalation in construction costs. From 2020 through 2022, construction costs increased by almost 38%, and 3 to 5 years before the pandemic cost increases averaged about 5% annually. The cost increase of materials and labor has stabilized since 2022 to about 3.5% annually, but the district could see an escalation of about $900,000 by delaying the rebuild project. But if other unknown economic factors come into play, they could have a more significant impact, said Sattler. Estes said he respectfully disagreed with Sattler's projected escalation in cost for labor and materials. Kovacs said he is not sure where the anticipated $6 million down payment would come from, and costs are anticipated to increase over time. The timeline delay could affect the sale of the existing Station 3, and that revenue was anticipated funding to pay for the rebuild project. The district delayed investing in some upgrades to the existing station, but a delay would necessitate some minor upgrades, because the district was anticipating moving the firefighters in 2026. There are many unknowns such as revenue and the Wildland-Urban Interface State Code that may mandate the need to hire additional staff, and there is some risk to thinking the district will have $6 million available, he said. David said the Flagstar loan gives the district the best option, and at the 10-year point the district would owe about $11.6 million. Division Chief of Administration Jamie Bumgarner said that after running the numbers proposed by Estes in comparison to the Flagstar proposal, the numbers were about the same. The district does not have to put down $6 million, and the balloon payment will give the district time to save money over 10 years and pay the lump sum down. Smaldino said, if the rebuild was the only thing going on, it would be easy to delay the loan, but having a known number helps Kovacs balance the budget and keep the lights on. I do not want to tie future boards into trying to secure funding and kick the can further down the road for the firefighters, Smaldino said. Director Mark Gunderman thanked Estes and said he was aligned with Smaldino and the 10-year Flagstar option was his preference. Everything is progressing, and there are unknowns to delaying the project. After several visits to Station 3, I am not a fan of asking the firefighters to continue operating out of that building. Vice President John Hildebrandt, attending via Microsoft Teams, concurred with Smaldino and Gunderman. Estes thanked David and said he has been a builder for the past 40 years and is a small developer in Monument. The prices for materials soared in 2020, but have decreased close to where they were before the pandemic, he said. He gave examples of materials and labor costs he had experienced building his apartment complex on Front Street, and said, "You cannot wait for the highs and the lows," and the numbers presented by David were wonderful. Estes made a motion to defer a decision until the board could meet in executive session within the next 2 weeks to allow Kelly to offer his opinion. The motion died 1-4. In a 5-0 roll call vote, the board approved an $18 million 10-year balloon loan to finance the rebuild of Station 3 with Flagstar. Kovacs said the financing details would be available at the May meeting. He confirmed to this reporter that the district anticipates receiving $1.260 million from the sale of the existing Station 3 at 1855 Woodmoor Drive, and about $1.096 million for the administrative office sale at Old Forest Point. Station 3 rebuild update. Bumgarner said the district will be on track to break ground after the district and developer have submitted the final site plans to the town of Monument for approval. The district is still projecting to begin site prep and moving dirt in August, then a 12-month build time for a late 2026 completion, he said. Board director recognized. Kovacs recognized Smaldino for serving 11 years in various capacities as a board director. He thanked Smaldino for supporting the district, and for becoming a good friend, and he presented a commemorative plaque in recognition of his service to the district. Engineer/Local 4319 President Christian Schmidt presented Smaldino with a commemorative firefighter statue on behalf of the Local 4319 members, and he thanked him for his years of service. In that time, you have made great contributions to the district, and have always been a strong supporter of the local, said Schmidt. See photo below. Smaldino said, "It has truly been an honor to be here and to do this, but at the first meeting I attended, the district was tackling a Station 2 septic system failure, an accountant resignation, 2 engine rebuilds, using borrowed apparatus. There was no maintenance plan, or a plan on how to buy the next engine. From where we were 11 years ago to where we are today is a huge achievement, and the district has had amazing board members the entire time. Smaldino thanked the crews for the tough conversations, and said, "The local and the department are working well together, but it is time to move on and let the new members of the combined districts take over. Thank you for the opportunity." Hildebrandt thanked Smaldino for his leadership and said he had done a fantastic job. Note: Cody Peterson will be sworn into a 4-year term at the May board meeting to fill the seat vacated by Smaldino. Mitchell property remodel. Bumgarner displayed a tentative floor plan for the additional office layout for the rental property located at 19775 Mitchell Avenue. The remodel includes enlarged public restrooms for ADA compliance, the addition of 2 showers, and 6 additional offices in the warehouse space. The goal is to move the front office staff in by the end of May with some office sharing, and the rest of the project will be completed in late July. The board approved up to $500,000 for the remodel project. See https://wp.ocn.me/v25n1mfd/. Financial update. Secretary Jason Buckingham said the district is at 25% of the total budget year-to-date as of March 31, with the combined overall revenue received year-to-date about $7.832 million, or about 32.3% of the 2025 projected annual revenue set at about $24.2 million. Overall expenses year-to-date were about $4.595 million, and about 24.5% of the projected expense budget set at about $18.7 million. The district had about $20.7 million in total checking/savings with about $14.5 million in the General Operations Fund, said Buckingham. Push-in ceremony. A push-in ceremony to celebrate placing the new Pierce Ladder Tower truck into service will be held on May 3 at 9 a.m. at Station 1, 18650 Highway 105 Monument. The truck was ordered on January 30, 2022 with an anticipated arrival date of October 2023. The district finally received the apparatus in December 2024. Before placing the apparatus into service, equipment is installed and the firefighting staff receive operational training on the truck. The district is using a lease/purchase loan to acquire the apparatus for about $1.6 million, includes $20,000 in equipment. BFFRPD. Kovac said the Black Forest Fire Rescue Protection District, BFFRPD, Board of Directors had moved in the direction of hiring a permanent fire chief. See https://wp.ocn.me/v25n4mfd/. Note: BFFRPD was exploring the possibility of alternative fire service delivery options with multiple fire departments over the past several months. See https://wp.ocn.me/v25n2bffrpd/. For updates visit www.bffire.org. The meeting adjourned at 6:17 p.m. Corrections. Secretary Jason Buckingham was excused on March 26, however the meeting minutes confirm he did join the executive session at 6:28 p.m. In the April edition of OCN, Buckingham was noted as absent on March 26. The April edition stated the sale of Station 3 expects to generate $499,000. It should have read that it expects to generate $1.260 million. OCN regrets the errors. Meetings are usually held on the fourth Wednesday every month. The next regular meeting is scheduled for May 28, at 4:30 p.m. at Station 1, 18650 Highway 105. For Microsoft Teams virtual joining instructions, agendas, minutes, and updates, visit www.monumentfire.org or contact Director of Administration Jennifer Martin at 719-484-9011. Natalie Barsh can be reached at nataliebarsh@ocn.me. Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District, April 14, Board moves accounts to Integrity Bank and Trust. By James Howell. In April, the Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District, WWSD, Board authorized staff to move the district's bank accounts to Integrity Bank and Trust. It scheduled 2 special board meetings. The board heard a financial report from Board Treasurer Roy Martinez and operational reports from District Manager Jesse Schaefer, Operations Superintendent Dan LaFontaine, and District Engineer Sidney Salins. Check fraud leads to change of banks. Schaefer asked the board to authorize staff to move the district's bank accounts from Community Banks of Colorado to Integrity Bank and Trust. Schaefer said the district had been the victim of a check washing scheme. A WWSD check made out to a vendor had been intercepted by someone who removed the district's name and address from the check and substituted their own. The amount of the check was not changed, Schaefer said. The incident required WWSD to close its accounts with Community Banks of Colorado. Schaefer said the district would also implement an additional control on its bank accounts called Positive Pay, which will require district staff to review and clear checks every day at 8 a.m. in perpetuity. Schaefer said the district already has an investment account at Integrity Bank and Trust and district staff have been pleased with the bank's customer service. He said the new bank offered the same services as community banks and had slightly higher interest rates. Office manager Corey Lynch said she was familiar with Integrity Bank and that it had low fees. The board authorized the transition to Integrity Bank. Special board meeting scheduled. The board scheduled a special meeting to award a drilling contract for Well 12R, a new well that will be drilled in the South Woodmoor Preserve, to be held on April 28 at 9 a.m. at the WWSD offices at 1845 Woodmoor Drive. Schaefer said bids for the contract would open on April 17, so the board should be ready to award the contract quickly. A second special board meeting, at which newly appointed board member Dana Franson will take the seat currently held by Director Dan Belli, was scheduled for May 7 at 1 p.m. at the WWSD offices. Martinez commended Belli for 6 years of service on the board. Belli was initially appointed to serve the last 2 years of another board member's term and then was elected to another 4-year term. At the May 7 meeting, the board will also make any appointments necessary to fill vacancies and will elect officers. Board Secretary Bill Clue said he could not attend the meeting but was willing to serve another term as secretary and supported Board President Brian Bush to serve another 2 years as president. Bush, who attended the meeting remotely, had offered to continue as president at the March board meeting. Financial report. Martinez told the board that supplemental water sales did well in early 2025. Users of supplemental water pay a higher rate than customers who stay within the standard water allotment. Schaefer said La Plata communities had elected to take advantage of a 1-year delay in supplemental water rate increases that WWSD offered to developers in good standing for its waterside development, and its purchase of supplemental water had contributed to that revenue increase. Martinez noted that tap fees were 6% under target. He said the purchase of a second 3/4-ton truck had raised expenditures. The board voted unanimously to accept the financial report. Operational reports. In his manager's report, Schaefer mentioned House Bill 25-1211, which regulates tap fees imposed by special districts such as WWSD. Schaefer said WWSD's tap fee policies already align with the requirements of the bill, but the bill also says water districts must serve all proposed developments if the districts have the capacity to serve. He speculated that developers had influenced the progress of the bill. Schaefer said a crew was preparing the Chilkat ditch to begin delivering water to shareholders, and the years-long revegetation work, required by the reclassification of Woodmoor Ranch's water from agricultural to municipal use, was coming to a close, and was primarily addressing weed control rather than planting native grasses. In his operations report, Operations Superintendent Dan LaFontaine provided additional detail about maintenance of the Chilkat ditch. LaFontaine said the annual ditch maintenance included mowing, tree removal and stabilization of the ditch banks using riprap. He said an additional gate was being added to better regulate water flow through the ditch and avoid surges following rainstorms. LaFontaine said he was continuing to work on identifying the causes of water loss in WWSD's infrastructure by adding water tank storage levels to his analysis, in addition to meter testing and having his crews be vigilant for evidence of leaks. He said a contractor had noted the presence of water during construction of a new home and that led to the discovery of a leaking saddle, which was repaired. LaFontaine said his goal was to keep unaccounted water under 10%, which would be considered excellent by industry standards. In March, about 15% of the water produced was unaccounted for, according to LaFontaine. LaFontaine said the meter replacement project was on track to install 1,200 meters this year, which would complete residential replacements. In her engineer's report, Salen said she was working with JVA Consulting Engineers on a plan to decommission one of the district's lift stations. Decommissioning the lift station would cost $630,000 but would save the district money in the long run. The next meeting is on May 12 at 1 p.m. Meetings are usually held on the second Monday of each month at 1 p.m. at the district office at 1845 Woodmoor Drive. Please see www.woodmoorwater.com or call 719-488-2525 to verify meeting times and locations. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Monument Sanitation District, April 16, District Plans for Bucky's Impact. By Jackie Burr Hans and James Howell. At the Monument Sanitation District's, MSD, April meeting, District Manager Mark Parker updated the board on work underway to ensure the district's collection system can handle the estimated wastewater from the proposed Bucky's Travel Center. Parker also updated the board on issues at the district's headquarters building. Board Treasurer John Howe, who is term-limited and will be replaced by Shannon Clark at the board's May meeting, said goodbye to the other board members. Pipeline capacity examined. Parker told the board that he was working with GMS Incorporated, the district's consulting engineers, to assess the existing pipelines and manholes between Dirty Woman Creek Park and the Tri-Lakes Wastewater Treatment Facility, TLWWTF. The park and the treatment facility are both on Mitchell Avenue south of Mount Herman Road, about a half-mile apart from each other. GMS is documenting the rim and invert elevations, pipe sizes, and material types of each manhole and performing a hydraulic evaluation to determine the current capacity of the system. Parker said the proposed Bucky's Travel Center would produce an estimated 15,000 gallons of wastewater per day. The 12-inch pipeline that runs between the park and the treatment facility is currently carrying about 1/8 of its maximum capacity, Parker said. He estimated the wastewater from the travel center would have minimal impact on the pipeline. One manhole remains to be documented, Parker said, adding he was not sure it made sense to open it for inspection due to its location under Dirty Woman Creek. The manhole had been examined by video, he said. Parker said he would meet with GMS later in the day to verify the existing infrastructure, including pipeline capacity, and the TLWWTF can handle the travel center's wastewater if it is built. MSD headquarters to receive new tree. Parker told the board that the town of Monument would replace the tree in the MSD headquarters courtyard with a chokecherry on Arbor Day, April 25. The old tree was improperly installed, he said, and was dying. See Arbor Day photo on page 21. Parker also mentioned that an expansion tank in the building had been replaced. Howe bids the board farewell. Having completed his second and final term on the MSD board, Howe wished the best for Shannon Clark, who will replace him. He thanked Chairman Dan Hamilton for his leadership, Director William Morgan for agreeing to fill a vacancy on the board and volunteering to be the board's liaison with the Joint Use Committee that oversees the TLWWTF, Secretary Janet Ladowski for her wealth of scientific knowledge, and Director Anthony Archer for his background with sanitation. Howe also said goodbye to Parker, to Accounts Administrator Chairan Alsop, and Operations Specialist James Kendrick. Monument Sanitation District meetings are held at 9 a.m. on the third Wednesday of the month in the District Conference Room at 132nd Street, Monument. The next regular meeting is scheduled for May 21. See https://monumentsanitation.org. For a district service map, see https://monumentsanitationdistrict.org/district-map. Information: 71948148886. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. James Howald can be reached at jameshowald@ocn.me. Triview Metropolitan District, April 17, Economic Development Incentive approved for retail development. By Natalie Barsh. At the Triview Metropolitan District, TMD, meeting on April 17, the board approved an economic development incentive agreement for a 30-acre retail site adjacent to Monument Marketplace, awarded the construction contract for its administrative building and utility operations center, and awarded the Phase 2 agreement for the construction of the 1.5 million gallon tank in Promontory Point. The board held an executive session to discuss the purchase and sale of water and land, economic incentive agreements, and agreements with the Town of Monument, TOM, and other governmental and private entities. Board candidates Eric Demkowicz and Anne-Marie Jajola attended the meeting. See below for election details. Economic Incentive Development Agreement approved. District Manager James McGrady requested the board consider an Economic Development Incentive Agreement with Legacy Development Partners LLC, LDP, that consists of sales tax share back, utility tap fee concessions, and infrastructure construction assistance. Chris Hake, founder of LDP, said the agreement had been a long time in the making, taking years of coordination with the property owner to plan the proposed 30-acre retail development on the south side of Blevins Buckle Trail, behind Home Depot and Kohl's. The developed site could deliver over 250,000 square feet of new commercial space, anchored by a large national retailer, with a blend of local, regional and national restaurants, other stores, and a potential site for a 4-story hotel on the southeast portion of the development. The proposed major anchor tenant would be the first to open its doors around October 2027, said Hake. In a 3-0 vote, the board approved the development incentive agreement and authorized McGrady to sign. Secretary/Treasurer James Barnhart arrived after the motion had passed. Later in the meeting, the 5-member board, all in favor of the Economic Incentive Development Agreement, discussed the need for a South Jackson Creek Parkway traffic flow study. The board anticipates increased traffic flow during the construction phase and after the development is built, with a need for traffic pattern upgrades before the new retail area opens. Note, the district would provide the necessary road upgrades for Jackson Creek Parkway as part of the economic development incentive. After the main retail store is built, the district expects reimbursement will be made through the collection of tap fees and the road and bridge fees from the development of the remaining 10 sites within the development. The district would also receive property tax revenue from the site occupants, and a portion of the sales tax revenue. Construction award. McGrady said the district received 6 bids for the construction of the district's administrative building and utility operations center to be built on a 2-acre site at West Baptist Road and North Terrazzo Drive. See https://wp.ocn.me.v25n1tmd. The district received several bids around the $4 million mark and he requested the board award the contract to Crossland Construction Company Incorporated to construct the building for about $3.382 million. The board awarded the contract, with McGrady authorized to sign it, in a 4-0 vote. Director Jason Gross arrived after the motion passed. Water storage tank update. McGrady requested the board approve the CM/GC agreement between TMD and Kiewit Infrastructure for Phase 2 of the water storage tank construction services for $971,800. And he said, the district is using about $700,000 of the $1 million grant from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, for Phase 2 of the 1.5 million gallon water storage tank project, to be located alongside the existing tank at B Plant, St. Lawrence Way, in Promontory Point. Phase 3 will take place in 2026 using the remaining $300,000 of the ARPA grant to make the site ready for a tank almost identical to the existing tank, just slightly larger. The board unanimously approved the agreement for Phase 2 with authorization for McGrady to sign the contract. See https://wpe.ocn.me.v25n1tmd. Financial update. The board accepted the February and March financial report and approved 21 checks over $5,000 for about $1.3 million. Of note was the payment of $257,774 for the budgeted and recently received snowplow dump truck. McGrady said the district's cash position is good and property tax revenue was deposited in March with the second deposit expected in June. Cash is going out for various projects, and some financing is necessary to move projects forward. For the second month in a row, the sales tax distributed by the TOM to the district was lower than expected. The town notified the district that some businesses are delinquent in making tax payments, and town staff continue to send out delinquency notices and hand-deliver requests for payment to those businesses. The state used to handle taxes for the town until the town adopted the voter-approved Home Rule Charter and then began self-collecting sales tax revenues. However, collecting sales tax requires a skill set that the town did not have, therefore, the town had to engage a consultant to assist with the collection of sales tax revenue. It is costing the town money to collect sales tax, a service the state completed in the past, said McGrady. Note, according to the current intergovernmental agreement, IGA, between the TOM and TMD, the district currently receives 1.5% of the sales tax revenue collected by the TOM from businesses within the town. The town also distributes regional building use tax and motor vehicle tax to the district. Outgoing director comments. Vice Chair Anthony Sexton, who is leaving the board, thanked the staff, the previous and incumbent board directors, and water attorney Chris Cummins for his expertise on water. He said he continues to learn and has thoroughly enjoyed his 8-year tenure, and said, "Great things are happening in the district and I am confident that the district will continue to accomplish even more." It is easy to table action, but with regard to making decisions about water and infrastructure, it is risky, as everything gets more expensive when you sit on your hands. Nothing good happens by not developing in the Tri-Lakes area community. Shutting down smart development does not help a great community improve roads and schools, and does not pay our teachers and police department more, it only brings higher taxes. As a board director on a water utility board, it is not my job to advocate for development, but without wise development the district cannot provide residents with renewable water and upgraded wastewater services, and maintain roads and parks. It is important to take a responsible approach that is not anti or pro anything, just considering things, and allowing the town to make the development decisions. Without development the district does not receive the revenue needed to provide great services, and taxing the daylights out of people to provide good service, is not the way forward, but it is wise to spread costs out for future residents that may move here in the next 10 to 15 years, said Sexton. Independent mail ballot election. The district will hold an election on May 6 to determine 3 board of director positions. 4 candidates are vying for 3 seats to be vacated due to term limitations. The ballot also includes a question relating to a $12.6 million bond to widen Higbee Road from Jackson Creek Parkway through to Harness Road. Please note all ballots must be signed and delivered to one of the following locations. The secured metal box inside the district office at 16055 Old Forest Point, Suite 302, Monument, available only during regular business hours and through 7 p.m. on May 6. Mailed/dropped off with the designated election official by 7 p.m. on May 6 at 2154 East Commons Avenue, Suite 2000, Centennial, Colorado 801221880. Specific office timings for dropping off ballots, and information about the candidates and the proposed Higbee Road widening project related to the bond question, can be found at https://triviewmetro.com. Executive Session. The board moved into an executive session at 7:58 p.m. to discuss the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer or sale of real, personal or other property interests needed by the district, pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute Section 24-6-402, and to receive legal advice pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-402, 4b, as it relates to water matters and agreements with the TOM and other governmental and private entities. The session also determined the district's positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, as it related to the purchase and sale of water and land, economic incentive agreements, and agreements with the TOM, and other governmental and private entities pursuant to CRS, Section 24-6-402, 4b. Sheffield confirmed to this reporter that when the board moved back into the regular session at 8:31 p.m., no action was taken and the meeting promptly adjourned at 8:32 p.m. Meetings are usually held on the third Thursday of the month at the district office located at 16055 Old Forest Point, Suite 302. The next regular meeting is scheduled for May 22 at 5:30 p.m. For meeting agendas, minutes, and updates, visit https://triviewmetro.com. Natalie Barsh can be reached at nataliebarsh@ocn.me. El Paso County Regional Loop Water Authority, April 17, Pumps and Pipeline Proposal Out for Bids. By James Howell. At a brief meeting in April, the El Paso County Regional Loop Water Authority, EPCRLWA, or the Loop, Board heard a progress report from Mark Valentine, its interim workflow manager, and a financial report from Corbin from & Company. LLC, the Loop's accounting firm. The meeting ended with an executive session. Treatment plant design proceeding. Valentine told the board that the water treatment plant design and pilot test work, awarded to Burns and McDonnell at the previous board meeting, was going forward with no major issues. He said a kickoff meeting would be held early in May. A request for proposal, RFP, to design the lift station pumps and pipelines needed to convey water from the proposed treatment plant northward to customers in the participating water district was out for bids, Valentine said. The RFP specifies 5 lift stations and 28 miles of pipeline, some 24-inch and some smaller. Valentine said the responses would go to the Loop's board members for evaluation. Responses to the RFP are due May 16, he said. Valentine added meetings with Western States Land Services LLC, the company acquiring easements for the Loop's pipelines, would be held soon. He said a preliminary meeting to discuss the control network for the project would be held in May. Financial report. From told the board that invoices totaling $55,000 had been received for engineering, legal and accounting work. The board voted unanimously to authorize From to pay the invoices. From said a check from the El Paso Board of County Commissioners for $594,000 had been received and he expected another check from the same source for $138,000 to arrive soon. Both checks are portions of the $4 million provided by the Biden administration's American Recovery Plan Act to get the Loop project through its beginning stages. The Loop had spent about $86,000, or 2%, of its 2025 budget, From said. Executive session. An executive session was held to receive legal counsel regarding negotiating positions on issues with Vidler Water Company, Inc., Cherokee Metropolitan District, La Plata Communities, and Burns and McDonnell. No actions were taken following the executive session. The next regular meeting is scheduled for May 15 at 9 a.m. Regular meetings are held on the third Thursday of each month at 9 a.m. at the Monument Town Hall at 645 Beacon Light Road. Workshop meetings are held the first Thursday of each month at 9 a.m. at the Monument Town Hall. Please see loopwater.org or call 719-488-3603 to verify meeting times and locations. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Donala Water and Sanitation District, April 17, workshop covers finances, water supply. By James Howell and Jackie Burr-Hans. On April 17, the Donala Water and Sanitation District, DWSD, held a workshop and a regular board meeting. At the workshop, General Manager Jeff Hodge presented the district's financial policy. Brett Gracely and Helen Melinda Lawrence, both consultants with LRE Water, addressed several technical issues, including DWSD's ground and surface water assets, the 4 large capital projects the district has underway, and techniques to manage the district's well field. Board President Wayne VanDenHoek discussed ways to improve public outreach. At its regular meeting, the board considered a resolution that authorizes integrated project delivery by pre-approving 3 contractors and heard a progress report on Well 7D, R from Hodge. Financial strategy to remain unchanged. Hodge told the board that DWSD's financial strategy was built on 4 funds: the Bond Reserve Fund, the Strategic Reserve Fund, the Capital Reserve Fund and the Operating Reserve Fund. The district also maintains a water fund and a wastewater fund that are used for monthly expenses. The Bond Reserve Fund is established as a condition of the bonds the district has issued. The district's bonds were refinanced in 2020, saving the district $170,000 per year in debt service. The funds are protected by bond covenants and can be used only in the event of a default or to pay down principal. It has a balance of $1.25 million, Hodge said. The Strategic Reserve Fund holds property tax revenues beyond what is needed for operating costs and capital expenses. Strategic Reserve Funds are used to acquire water rights, build storage capacity and take advantage of conveyance opportunities. Wells, which typically cost around $2 million to drill, are financed with money from this fund. The balance in this fund fluctuates depending on buying opportunities. The balance is currently $4.44 million, according to Hodge. The Capital Reserve Fund is established from capital revenues and is used for large-scale projects such as the upgrades installed at the Holbein Water Treatment Plant to remediate radium levels and the repair of water storage tanks. The fund's balance is $3.6 million. The Operating Reserve Fund has a balance sufficient to operate the district for 6 months and is used to protect the district from unforeseen cost increases such as increases in water costs, treatment costs, and emergency repairs. The balance is $3.2 million. The total of all 4 funds is about $12.5 million, Hodge said. That amount was confirmed to be adequate by Raftelis, a company that does financial modeling and rate studies for local governments and utilities. Hodge said he recommended making no changes to the 4 funds. Water supply and projects. Gracely and Melinda Lawrence reviewed DWSD's groundwater and surface water supplies. The district operates 13 wells, 9 of which produce water from the Arapahoe Aquifer and 4 from the Denver Aquifer. One of the Arapahoe Aquifer wells is out of production and one of the Denver Aquifer wells is currently being re-drilled. The Arapahoe wells are permitted by the state to provide a maximum of 1,513.7 acre-feet of water per year. Actual production is less than that amount. The Denver Aquifer wells can provide a maximum of 1,141 acre-feet per year. DWSD's maximum groundwater supply totals 2,671 acre-feet per year. Actual production is less. Groundwater is a finite resource. As aquifer levels decline, groundwater becomes more expensive to produce until it is no longer a viable resource. Water from DWSD's wells is treated at 2 treatment plants, the Hull Water Treatment Plant and the Holbein Water Treatment Plant, HWTP. The 2 plants together deliver 820.7 acre-feet of water to customers each year. In addition to its groundwater supplies, DWSD has rights to renewable surface water from the Willow Creek Ranch, which is in Lake County near Leadville, as well as to water from the Laughlin Ditch, which originates in Strathmore, an unincorporated community near Fountain. DWSD's Willow Creek Ranch water rights are 1890 senior irrigation rights converted in water court to municipal uses. The district has rights to a maximum of 280 acre-feet of water per year from the ranch. Currently, this water is stored in the Pueblo Reservoir and then treated and delivered to DWSD customers by Colorado Springs Utilities, CSU, at a high cost that increases with each contract renewal. DWSD has plans to deliver this water to its customers using the Loop Water Reuse Project, without incurring the CSU charges. The district's Laughlin Ditch water rights are 1860 senior irrigation rights, originally used to irrigate a pasture, that were converted to municipal uses in 1975. DWSD leases this water to the Arkansas Groundwater and Reservoir Association. Arkansas in this instance refers to the Arkansas River, not the state. The district is considering plans to exchange this water to the confluence of the Monument and Beaver Creeks, thereby making it available to district customers. Grace Lee and Melinda Lawrence gave the board an overview of 4 projects the district is working on. Well 7D replacement, expected to cost $2 million to $2.5 million. Well 7D, which failed in 2020, will be re-drilled and renamed Well 7D-R. The failure of Well 11D in late 2024 left the HWTP with no access to water from the Denver aquifer. Well 7D-R will restore HWTP's access to Denver aquifer water and should be in production by late summer 2025. The Loop Water Reuse Project, a collaborative water supply initiative involving DWSD, Woodmoor Water and Sanitation and the Town of Monument, the loop will divert water, including reusable effluent, from Fountain Creek, and treat, store and convey it to customers in the participating entities. The loop is a large-scale, long-term project expected to be completed in 2030 or 2031. The loop received $4 million in startup financing from the Biden administration's American Recovery Plan Act and is currently in design phase. Preliminary estimates for the project's cost are close to $160 million. Aquifer storage and recovery. This pilot study will use Well 9A to recharge the Arapahoe Aquifer, using the aquifer to store treated water for later use without any loss to evaporation. It is partially funded by the Colorado Conservation Board's Water Plan Grant, with a $2.4 million match from DWSD. Direct potable reuse. This project will begin the establishment of a system to deliver treated effluent to customers without first returning it to a river or stream. This project does not have an estimated cost. Well 7DR update. Hodge told the board that a retaining wall for the well, which is adjacent to the district's offices at 15850 Holbein Drive, should be started by April 21. The next step is to build a sound wall to protect the nearby homes from the noise of drilling as much as possible. Following the drilling, electrical work, pump installation and approval of water samples will take place. The well could be in production by August, Hodge said. Well field management. Melinda Lawrence discussed the ways DWSD's wells can be managed as a well field to extend the life of the underlying aquifers and to remain within the maximum amounts the district is allowed to pump from the Arapahoe and Denver aquifers. She cautioned the board that maximum amounts permitted does not ensure that wells can produce that amount of water. Well age and condition affect well production, and the district may choose to run some wells at a throttled rate to avoid deterioration. Low and slow is the best way to operate a well for aquifer health, she said. Hodge commented that the well field study and a dashboard developed by Melinda Lawrence were helpful in predicting the impact of decisions about how to run individual wells. Melinda Lawrence said she used aquifer testing data, sustainable pumping rates, water blending scenarios, and water rights to help water operators make strategic decisions about how to use wells. Steve Revelle, a project manager with Merrick & Company, reported on a geographic information system he developed that maps the district's distribution and collection systems and provides a database operators can use to make decisions and maintain the infrastructure. Plan to improve public outreach. VanDenHoek said public outreach builds trust and confidence in the district's customers and said more needed to be done in that arena because the board relies on customer support. He suggested developing a packet of information that could be given to new residents that would help them understand the special districts that deliver services to them. He also proposed using open houses to build relationships with district customers. Integrated Project Delivery Resolution. Hodge asked the board to consider Resolution 2025-3, which pre-approves 3 contractors, Lando Excavation LLC, Iron Woman Construction and Environmental Services LLC, and R.J. Gleason Construction, to provide services in urgent situations without going through a typical bidding process. Pre-approval aims to increase efficiency, fast-track design and construction, and provide more quality assurance. The board voted unanimously in favor of the resolution. The next board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 15 at 1:30 p.m. Generally, board meetings are held the third Thursday of the month at 1:30 p.m. and include online access, call 719-488-3603 or access www.donalawater.org to receive up-to-date meeting information. The March meeting was delayed by 1 week to allow adequate notice of a public hearing. The district office is located at 15850 Holbein Drive, Colorado Springs. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. El Paso County Board of County Commissioners, April 10, 2 local projects approved by the county. By Marlene Brown. At the April 3 El Paso Board of County Commissioners, BOCC, land use meeting, 2 of the consent calendar items pertain to the local area. The first was a Ben Lomond Mountain Village rezoning to residential rural, RR 2.5 acres. It was recommended for approval at the Planning Commission on March 20. The map amendment rezones 341.10 acres from RR 5 to RR 2.5. The property is in Commissioner District 3, just west of Palmer Divide Road and Indy Drive and at Palmer Divide Road and Spruce Mountain Road. The project was approved 5-0. The second was a request from New Breed Ranch Incorporated for approval of a final plat to create 7 single-family residential lots. The 34.7-acre portion of 279.07 acres is zoned Planned Unit Development, PUD. It is just east of Shoup Road and Highway 83, north of the city limits of Colorado Springs. The item was recommended by the PC for approval March 20. The project was approved 5-0. The BOCC usually meets every Tuesday at 9 a.m. at Centennial Hall, 200 South Cascade Avenue, Suite 150, Colorado Springs. Agendas and meetings can be viewed at www.agendasuite.org/ip/elpaso. BOCC land use meetings are normally held the second and fourth Thursdays of the month, as needed, at 9 a.m. in Centennial Hall. For more information regarding the BOCC, call 719-520-7276 or go to bocc.elpasoco.com. Marlene Brown can be reached at marlenebrown@ocn.me. Woodmoor Improvement Association, April 23, Resident Sparks Firewise Discussion. By Jackie Burr-Hans. The Woodmoor Improvement Association, WA, Board met on April 23 to hear a resident's concerns and recommendations on its Firewise program. Resident Fire Concerns. Resident Eric Lessing presented his thoughts and recommendations on the Firewise program to the board. He started by commending the board for updating its Forest Stewardship and Community Wildfire Protection Plan, CWPP, available at https://woodmoor.org/forestry-firewise/. He suggested the board make Firewise its top priority to get resident buy-in. Lessing said that WIA must have a goal to get Woodmoor 100% Firewise in 15 years, with progressive goals of 50% in 5 years and 90% in 10 years. He stated that only 145 homeowners had been made Firewise in the last 17 years. The CWPP notes that 145 homeowners participated in the grants between 2008 and 2017, but WIA staff noted that additional mitigation grants have been awarded since then and that ongoing mitigation is required. The Western States Wildland Urban Interface Grant helps homeowners reduce the fuels around their homes. Homeowners receive 50% cost shares on their first $1,000 of expenses. In addition to homeowner mitigation, WIA mitigates common areas, including thinning areas of dense forest. The CWPP also noted that 15% of grant applicants did not seek reimbursement. WIA's rules make it easy to work in the area within 30 feet of the home without needing permission, but WIA could improve its follow-up and record-keeping, according to the CWPP. Lessing suggested a plan to include Firewise leaders who would motivate neighbors to mitigate contiguous properties at significant economies of scale. He suggested a pilot program of 100 properties in the first year, in 4 to 7 areas led by a resident who has already implemented fire-wise measures, engaging professional support to carry out the work in bulk, and empowering homeowners with clear estimates and access to the matching grants. He handed out copies of the Colorado State Forest Service brochure The Home Ignition Zone, a guide to preparing your home for wildfire and creating defensible space. This document and other forest and fire management resources are available on the WIA website. Forestry Director Jason Han thanked Lessing for his information, noting all the board had shared his emails, read the documentation provided, and had multiple discussions with him. Han said WIA was committed to doing what is sustainable and fiscally possible, which might not be the same as Lessing's suggestions. He noted that WIA has 3,400 homes across a wide geographical area and was looking to produce the biggest impact. Han said WIA was implementing FireWise ambassadors who would volunteer to help with lot evaluation. The chipping event is scheduled for June 21st and 22nd and July 26th and 27th at Lewis Palmer High School. Residents can bring their slash to this site for free, non-residents are asked for a minimal donation. Board President Brian Bush noted that WIA is actively soliciting FireWise ambassadors and that the fire department has offered to use its drone to locate key areas to target for mitigation. The board discussed options for community outreach. Han moved to modify the Project Design Standards Manual, PDSM, to change the definition of a standard tree to 12 inches in diameter when measured 4 feet 6 inches above the ground, simplifying removal regulations. Han confirmed this change would allow homeowners to maintain their properties without requiring permission for smaller trees. The board unanimously approved this change. Han noted that verbiage in the PDSM about FireWise gate material within 10 feet of the house would remain the same, and the ACC administrator would handle requests for alternate material. The PDSM can be found in the Documents section of the WIA website. Han said the new grant would be announced soon. It will total about $148,000 and have a different scope of guidelines requiring a lot evaluation before and after the mitigation to offer the 50% match. Since it is a smaller grant, WIA will focus on the areas of greatest need. Han reported that the first education seminar, hosted by the Monument Fire Department, will be held on June 14. It will provide information on FireWise and home hardening and will be held at the barn at 10 a.m. WIA is asking for RSVPs at 719-488-2693. Highlights. Treasurer Pete Giusti reported that finances were on track for the end of March. As of April 23 there were 232 unpaid dues, he said, with liens going into effect on June 2. He said a warning letter would be sent out shortly. Director of Covenant Control Jennifer Davis reported 21 covenant-related items, 2 unfounded complaints, and 18 issues resolved viaduct-friendly communications. 1 covenant hearing was held in April, and no hearing is scheduled for May. Director of Architectural Control Ed Miller said WIA had 29 projects submitted in March, 21 approved by the Architectural Control Committee, ACC, administrator, and 8 approved by the ACC. This represents a 30.5% decrease in projects from the prior year and maintains a 95.6% approval rate this year. Bush announced a new fan has been installed at the barn that is controlled remotely by a switch on the wall. Han installed the fan on a volunteer basis. The WIA Board of Directors usually meets at 7 p.m. on the 4th Wednesday of each month in the barn at 1691 Woodmoor Drive, Monument. The next meeting will be on May 28 after Memorial Day. Jackie Burr-Hans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Thank you for joining us for audio versions of the news articles from this issue of OCN. To read the full articles or explore more content, visit www.ocn.me. Don't miss out, sign up for our community newsletter to stay updated with every new post.